Chiesa got the win, and then he called out Colby Covington. Didn't do an interview. He just said to DC's like, I just got to say this, Colby Covington, I'll see you in July, and then walked out, which is cool. I like the fact that Michael Chiesa called his shot, but it's a huge step up. If you think about it, if you're talking about a guy who is not even ranked yet, now he did just beat number 5. It's going to be crazy. I would imagine that he's going to go from not ranked at welterweight now to, I gotta say 6, right? Like you're gonna put him somewhere in that regard, and then he goes and calls out the number 2 guy in the world. And what's kind of a mishmash, everybody else is pretty much taken up as welterweight's concerned because Leon and Tyron are going to fight. And then as far as welterweight's concerned, I don't think it's very long until we get the announcement that Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman are going to be fighting for the title. Reason I think that is both of those guys this week seem to very much turn their aim on each other. And I said this last week. I talked about the Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal thing as opposed to Conor McGregor. And I just thought that, especially from Masvidal's standpoint, I just thought that he did a much better job explaining why he wants to fight Kamaru Usman. And he talked me into that fight as opposed to the McGregor fight. Because, the thing with McGregor is it's not that hard to figure this stuff out because he's a smart guy. He leaves his options open, but you could tell the stuff that really gets his juices flowing. And he's always been a guy where he's had a direct thought on what he's going to do and what he's going to do next. And what he wants to do is get the rematch against Khabib. That's what he wants. It's that simple. So when you think about all the guys that he's mentioned, and the only guy that really just kind of, twitches his beard a little bit, it's been Nurmagomedov. It has been. And how does he get back there? And then you think about the Jorge Masvidal fight, and I mean, most fan polls and all that stuff, they want to see Conor versus Masvidal next because those are right now, I'd say, the 2 most buzzworthy guys in the UFC. You could probably argue Nurmagomedov is more famous than Masvidal, but over this last year, he was Fighter of the Year. He had a knockout that everybody on planet Earth had saw. He became a monster superstar. So I think from that standpoint, a lot of fans want to see that matchup, but I do think it could get bigger. I think it could get bigger, and I think one way that fight gets bigger is that Jorge Masvidal becomes champion of the world. And I don't think, because I think Conor's a smart guy and I think he knows there's risk, I don't think he wants to fight Jorge Masvidal until he can get a title. I don't think the Bad Mother Bleeper title gets him going that much. I think if Masvidal became champion of the world at 170 pounds, I think he'd absolutely want to fight him then, because then he has the opportunity to go and win a 3rd title, which is something nobody's done. So I think that would get Masvidal right. And then even with the Masvidal-Conor thing, Jorge has been very clear. He wants that fight for the money, which is great. I'm not against people making money. I want all these fighters to make as much money as possible. But I've said this. As a fan, I don't really care about the oodles and oodles of money that they make. I want them to make good money, and I want them to be paid handsomely. But it's not, if you're going to tell me about what's the difference in me wanting to see a fight personally, it's not necessarily how much money a guy's making. So it's story, it's accomplishments, it's accolades, it's all that stuff. And so from my standpoint, when I listened to these 2 individuals talk last week, Usman and Jorge Masvidal, you could just tell, man, he's really starting to go in on Kamaru Usman. He really doesn't like him. And then he was on Ariel Helwani's show this week, and he had the quote where, well, if it's all potatoes and tomatoes, which is just a great line, by the way, and it's not about the money, I'd really take a lot more pleasure in butchering up Usman's face than I would Conor's. And I'm just like, well, yeah, that's the fight I want. And it goes on to explain. I don't like the fact that he disrespected me. I don't like the who thing. Mentions the American Top Team, Black Zillions, Hard Knocks 365 crossover. He's thrown all that stuff in there, and that backstory I am into. I'm into the idea of Miami's guy, the guy who's representing Miami right now in a national spotlight. I'm into the idea that guy's going to get to fight for the world championship. The world championship. And yeah, I want to see that guy make a ton of dough. But the idea that Miami's fighter is going to go and fight for the world championship. We just talked with Miguel last segment, and we're talking about, man, all the talent that's down here in South Florida, all the great fighters that we have down here. We got one UFC card in 6 years. That's garbage, man. So if you had the champion of the world was from Miami-Dade County, that's a monster. For me, that's not even close. It's not close on a selfish level of what I would want to see. And you just can tell. Like, you can just tell sometimes what gets these guys going a little bit more. And right now, Masvidal has turned his attention to Kamaru Usman, and that fight I think is going to happen. Here's why. Next week, we have Super Bowl Radio Row. The publicists send out emails. Who's going to be there? Who's going to come to Radio Row? All right, let's see who's going to be there. Who's going to be there? Jorge Masvidal is going to be there. Kamaru Usman's going to be there. White's going to be there. Why would they be there? They're going to announce a fight. They're going to announce a fight. If those guys are going to be there and they're scheduled to be there on behalf of the UFC, it's not like they're going and they're not selling some anti-odor powder or something like that. If they're there on behalf of the UFC and they're making the rounds with all the radio stations there in the world and all the media in a media center where we're going to be all the sporting media is going to be down here in Miami. Those guys are going to be there because they're announcing a fight. They're going to fight. I would very much. I feel very good about the prediction that I think they're going to announce that fight next week because it doesn't make sense. Like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, then they have to be announcing that fight soon. Because Yoel Romero's going to be there. He's got a fight to promote. Why is he going to be there? He's got a fight to promote. He's got to promote him versus Stylebender. Joanna Jacek's going to be there. Why is she going to be there? Oh, she has a fight to promote on that same card with Yoel Romero. She's taking on Weili Zhang. So what do you think? You think Jorge Masvidal and Kamaru Usman on behalf of the UFC, they just want to go make the media rounds for kicks? No, they got a fight to announce. They're definitely going to announce that fight next week. For sure. We're back after this.